Imagine this: a bustling office, the hum of computers, the shuffle of papers, and a powerful CEO, one of the most influential people in the city, leaning over to say, "If you play Chopin, I'll marry you." Most people would freeze, intimidated. Most people would nod or stammer, but not him. Janitor. One simple response echoed louder than wealth, power, or titles ever could. Bravery often isn't loud, dramatic, or captured in headlines. Sometimes it comes quietly, in moments that seem ordinary, but are extraordinary in their courage. The janitor in this story demonstrated exactly that. He wasn't a public figure, a celebrity, or someone who commanded attention. He was a man whose daily life was filled with tasks most of us overlook: mopping floors, emptying trash cans, and ensuring the office environment was clean and orderly. Yet, in the face of an unusual and intimidating challenge, a powerful CEO leaning over and proposing, "If you play Chopin, I'll marry you," he displayed a courage that no amount of money, status, or influence could summon. What makes this bravery remarkable is that it came from someone society often underestimates. People rarely associate power with a janitor, yet in that brief moment, his actions proved that courage is not about position or title. It is about character. He did not shrink under the pressure of authority, nor did he allow the situation to diminish his self-respect. He responded in a way that communicated confidence, intelligence, and dignity, showing that true bravery is rooted in standing firm for oneself, regardless of the potential consequences. This moment teaches a larger lesson. Real power often resides in those who are overlooked. While society tends to celebrate the loud, the wealthy, and the famous, it's often the quiet acts of courage that leave the most lasting impression. The janitor's response reminded everyone present that fearlessness doesn't require grandeur. It can exist in the simplest actions, in everyday people, and in the choices we make when the world expects us to stay silent. In that sense, bravery isn't measured by accolades. It's measured by the integrity and courage one exhibits when no one expects it. Talent has a remarkable way of breaking barriers, walls built by society, hierarchy, or perception. In this story, the janitor's skill at playing Chopin was a hidden gem, unnoticed in his daily work, but undeniable when the moment demanded recognition. The CEO, representing authority, wealth, and influence, assumed that talent could be summoned on command, as if skill were simply a tool to serve another's whim. Yet what this moment truly revealed is that talent cannot be confined by social class, job title, or circumstance. It exists independently, waiting for the right moment to shine, and when it does, it demands acknowledgement, even from the highest levels of power. The janitor's ability to play Chopin transformed him in that instant from someone invisible in the office hierarchy into the center of attention, not because of who he was on paper, but because of what he could do. His skill became a bridge, connecting him to the CEO, but not as a subordinate. It connected them as human beings capable of recognizing and respecting talent. This moment shows us that abilities have the power to equalize situations that might otherwise feel lopsided. Talent becomes a form of communication, a universal language that transcends social boundaries. Moreover, this story serves as a powerful reminder to everyone watching. Your abilities have value, even if the world doesn't notice immediately. Often, society places people in roles based on their jobs, appearance, or social standing, ignoring the hidden potential within. Yet talent, when recognized, or when it demands recognition, cannot be ignored. It has the ability to shift perceptions, command respect, and even silence the voices of authority who assumed that power alone dictated influence. The janitor's music symbolized this truth perfectly. Skill, when nurtured and revealed, is unstoppable, regardless of where it comes from. In moments of pressure or temptation, many people are faced with a choice: to bend, to comply, or to stay true to themselves. The janitor's response to the CEO's outrageous proposition exemplifies the profound strength of integrity over flattery. Imagine being offered an opportunity that, on the surface, might seem flattering or advantageous. Many would have played Chopin instantly, seeking approval, reward, or perhaps even recognition. But integrity is the quiet, unwavering voice that says, "I will not compromise who I am for someone else's amusement or desire." In that moment, the janitor chose authenticity over performance, self-respect over superficial praise. This choice is powerful because it reminds us that our dignity cannot be bought, borrowed from someone else's whims. The CEO, wielding influence and authority, attempted to sway the janitor with flattery masked as an offer. Yet flattery is fleeting. It is an illusion of respect or attention that depends on compliance. Integrity, on the other hand, is enduring. It shapes how others perceive you, not through fear or manipulation, but through the consistency of your principles and your refusal to compromise them for the sake of approval. The janitor's action demonstrates that true influence does not come from bending under pressure, but from standing firm, even when no one expects it. Integrity commands a unique kind of respect that money, power, or charm can never buy. It speaks to who we are when the eyes of the world are on us, and even when they are not. By choosing honesty and self-respect over flattery, the janitor communicated a timeless lesson. Our value is determined not by how well we please others, but by how faithfully we remain true to ourselves, no matter the stakes. One of the most striking elements of this story is how the janitor's response shattered the invisible social rules that often govern our lives. Society conditions us to accept hierarchies and power structures without question. We are taught to defer to authority, to respect rank, and to follow unspoken rules that dictate how we behave around those deemed more important. In this moment, the CEO, a figure of immense wealth and influence, attempted to assert dominance, expecting compliance or at least deference. Yet the janitor's response challenged these expectations entirely, proving that respect and human dignity are not dictated by social status. By refusing to comply with the CEO's personal demand, the janitor disrupted the traditional narrative of power. He demonstrated that authority does not automatically grant the right to manipulate or humiliate others, no matter how well-intentioned or whimsical the gesture may seem. In doing so, he also reminded everyone present that social expectations are construct, sometimes arbitrary, sometimes oppressive, and that challenging them requires courage, self-awareness, and moral clarity. This lesson resonates beyond this single incident. In workplaces, schools, and communities, people often feel pressured to know their place, or behave in ways society deems appropriate. The janitor's calm and confident defiance is a vivid reminder that challenging these expectations does not make one rebellious or disrespectful. It makes one human. It highlights the idea that dignity cannot be bought, assigned, or assumed by anyone's position. It must be claimed by every individual through their actions, choices, and self-respect. Ultimately, the janitor's response reveals a profound truth. Power is not absolute, and social hierarchies are not invincible. When individuals act with integrity and confidence, they have the ability to reshape expectations, command respect, and remind society that every person, regardless of their role, has the right to stand tall and be heard. Sometimes the most powerful statements are made not with words, but with the absence of them. The janitor's response to the CEO demonstrates this perfectly. A carefully measured silence, paired with intelligence and confidence, can speak louder than any speech, argument, or act of defiance. In a world where we often rush to respond, impress, or explain ourselves, the ability to remain calm and deliberate in one's reply is a rare and formidable skill. Silence, when wielded correctly, can force reflection, create tension, and command respect in a way that words sometimes cannot. In this scenario, the janitor did not allow the CEO authority or provocative offer to rattle him. Instead of reacting with fear, flattery, or over-explanation, he chose a response that was measured, precise, and impactful. This is a reminder that not all influence comes from speaking more loudly or asserting oneself aggressively. Often, the quiet, thoughtful individual who resists immediate pressure demonstrates strength that is far more compelling. The pause, the calm demeanor, the subtle confidence, all of these elements combine to shift the power dynamic in that room, turning an expected moment of intimidation into one of admiration and reflection. This story also illustrates a deeper truth about communication. Silence is not emptiness. It is intentional space that allows others to confront their assumptions, consider their behavior, and reflect on their actions. The janitor's measured approach forced the CEO to reckon with the absurdity of the proposition and the strength of the janitor's character. In life, we too can use silence strategically, not to withdraw, but to assert, to reflect, and to demonstrate our principles. It shows that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, and that whisper can echo louder than 1,000 words. The janitor's response to the CEO is not just an extraordinary story. It is a lesson for all of us in how heroism and influence often appear in the most unexpected moments. We tend to think of inspiration as something grand, reserved for public figures or life-changing events. Yet, this story reminds us that courage, dignity, and integrity are just as powerful in everyday life, in the ordinary interactions we have with people around us. Heroism doesn't always demand a stage or an audience. Sometimes it simply requires presence of mind, self-respect, and the willingness to act according to one's principles. Every day, we encounter moments that test our patience, ethics, or confidence. A co-worker might try to take credit for our work. A teacher may unfairly challenge us, or someone in a position of authority could issue unreasonable demands. The janitor's example shows that standing firm, responding with dignity, and valuing oneself above external pressures is not only possible, but transformative. It is in these small, seemingly ordinary acts that we shape our character and influence those around us. This story also illustrates that inspiration is contagious. One person's courage can ripple through a community, inspiring others to act with integrity, challenge expectations, and embrace their unique talents. The janitor's simple yet powerful response did more than silence a CEO. It sent a message about respect, self-worth, and the value of authenticity. Ultimately, the lesson here is clear. You do not need extraordinary circumstances or a title to make a lasting impact. True influence arises from how we choose to live our everyday lives, with courage, integrity, and the confidence to stand by our principles. In doing so, we remind ourselves and others that greatness can come from anyone, anywhere, and that the ordinary can be extraordinary when met with conviction and heart. In the end, the janitor didn't just silence a CEO. He reminded all of us of something far more powerful than wealth, influence, or authority. He reminded us that courage can come from unexpected places, that talent cannot be confined by status, and that integrity will always outshine flattery. He showed that we all have the power to stand tall, to speak, or remain silent, with purpose, and to inspire through our everyday actions. So the next time you face a moment that tests your dignity, your courage, or your convictions, remember the janitor. Remember that greatness is not about titles or positions. It's about who you are when no one expects it. And in that quiet strength, in that simple act of self-respect, you just might change the world around you.